Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum for the City of Elk River City Council. My name is John Holton, and on behalf of the Elk River Area Chamber of Commerce Government Relations Committee, I'm going to be your moderator for tonight's event. This event, by the way, is being live broadcast and will be available to watch at any time after we complete. I'd like to start by thanking the City of Elk River for allowing us to use this space and for the use of their recording equipment for our forum. I'd also like to thank all the candidates for being here tonight to help us provide important information for our voters before they head to the polls. Tonight's event is being recorded, I think I just said this, and will be replayed on the Chamber's website and social media channels, but it is also live. The Elk River Area Chamber does not assume any party affiliation, nor do we endorse any candidate. We are hosting this forum to provide information about the candidates to the general public. Since this is a public information forum and not a campaign event, we respectfully request that all candidates and audience members refrain from applause or comments that could cause a disruption during the live broadcast forum. I'm joined tonight by Dan Weber, who's also a member of the Chamber's Government Relations Committee, and he will be our timekeeper tonight. He will provide each of you with a signal when you have 30 seconds left to wrap up your thoughts or comments. That's the yellow yield sign. If you see the red signal, the stop sign, that means you've gone over the time limit and should stop immediately. And if you don't, I will be calling time on you. Each candidate will answer the same questions. I'll rotate the order of the answer of who answers the questions first, second, etc. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to each question asked. At the end, you'll have 2 minutes to wrap up your thoughts or cover any topics that we did not ask you. We have a full hour tonight, and with only 3 of you here, I expect we'll have some time for questions from the audience if there are any. So after we finish our prepared questions, I will ask for those. After we've heard those, then I'll ask for your wrap-up. Any questions about the format for tonight? Okay. Our first question. You each will have 2 minutes. This is the opportunity to introduce yourself, state any of your top priorities, and why you're running for your office. 2 minutes. Let's start with Mayor Dietz. John, you are up.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber for sponsoring this forum. I think it's important to have forums like these to inform the citizens of what's going on in the city. I have been the mayor. I'm just completing my 12th year as mayor. Prior to that, I was the Ward 1 City Council member for 16 years, and I have also been a member of the Elk River Utilities Commission for the last 26 years. So I'm heavily involved in city government. I guess my dad used to run a grocery store in Elk River for a long, long time, and he always reinforced in me that it was important to give back to your community. He was very involved in the community when I was growing up. In fact, he started the Lions Club in Elk River along with Mr. McRae. And so he was very involved, and he said it's important to do that. And I've been immersed basically in the city in different roles since I was out of college, starting with helping to organize a youth football program, the Park and Rec Commission. I'm also I'm on the board of the Yellow Ribbon Group in Elk River, which is an organization that helps veterans and military in our community, which I'm very proud of. But I have a passion for Elk River. Having grown up here, lived almost my entire life here with my wife Jane, who I would like to thank very much for her tremendous support. She's also involved in the community and volunteer organizations, and she's the best nurse I know. But I'd like to continue to serve. There's many issues facing the city right now. The Highway 169 project, the local tax rate and electric rate. There's issues with the landfill, with the community event center. There will be specific questions about those, but our budget is one of the top issues that we deal with every year, and we've done the best job we can to try to mitigate the large increase that you're seeing in your property values. So we were able to control some of that. Thank you.
We're just going to go down the line. Corey, your chance for your introduction.
My name is Corey Grupa. I've lived in Elk River for over 50 years. Went to Elk River High School here, graduated Elk River High School. Met my wife in Elk River, who also attended Elk River High School. We've raised 3 daughters in Elk River. They also attended Elk River High School. And now I have 2 granddaughters who are going through the school district here in Elk River. And given my age and the opportunity to be able to serve, I've been asked to, by a good neighbor of mine, Larry Toth, who's encouraged me to run for this years ago. And now I've given the opportunity to do that with the time on my hands, and I decided to do that. I look forward to working with council with the projects of 169, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Elk River to grow. And I want to join the council to make sure that Elk River continues to grow in the proper way with the proper growth. Housing is going to be another issue that they're going to face if we bring in industrial companies to come in. Another point of mine is school board. I think it's very important that the council communicates with the school board, because it's also the taxpayer dollars that pay for schools, what the school does, and also what the council does. Also, another bullet point is to make sure that there's incentive for companies to come here and love this community and want to stay here. And like Mayor Dietz had said, there's going to be some challenges. Add to that the landfill, as well as a few others. In my background, I'm a plumber for over 25 years. Started a home inspection business in 2007, which has still prospered today, which I started at during a recession along with my wife. And I now work for a property management company, so we deal with property owners, trying to do a profit for them, come up with ideas to advertise, and we try to strategically place properties or get properties in a certain Twin Cities area to continue to grow and have the owners make money as well, as that is an investment for them. So those are my qualifications, and I look forward to representing Elk River and being part of this council.
Thank you, Corey. Garrett, your question.
All right, my name is Garrett Christensen. We have lived in Elk River since 2011 when we bought our first home here. Wife graduated from Elk River High School in 2003. And we really kind of planted our flag here to raise our 5 children, 4 in which are in the Elk River School District. And really, so I'm running for re-election. I ran in 2018 with limited knowledge on how local government works, or how I thought it should work. And really, my motive was to get involved, to give back to the community. One of the things that my parents instilled with me at a very young age is that everyone has a skill set, and everyone has a skill set that could be used to give back to the community. And in my professional career, my professional life, as well as my personal life being a father, I've always, since at a very young age, I've had a leadership style position in really everything that I've done. So I saw that as a skill set to bring to the city of Elk River. And I've taken that time, the first 4 years, to really learn and understand kind of the inner workings of government. And I know through my first year on council, it was kind of the joke with the employees at the front desk that I'm here more than some of the employees, just getting time to learn and understand what's going on. But really, look, my priority is to continue investigating opportunities to reduce our budget, which in turn lower our city tax rate, which we have done and worked diligently on over the last 4 years. But to grow and support our local economy, diversifying our tax base is important, bringing businesses in here to Elk River with jobs, as well as just getting more people involved in local government. I've spent the 4 years advocating, listening, and representing people. I want to continue.
Got to pull the plug on you, Garrett.
2
That's
minutes goes
time.
fast. Listening to you guys, like, I'm gonna
Indeed,
take
it
30
does.
seconds.
Thank you. So here's your first question. Garrett, I'm not even going to give you a chance to catch your breath. It's going to you first. With the closure of the GRE Resource Recovery Facility in January of 2019, the Elk River landfill is filling up faster than originally planned. The landfill operator is required to obtain a license from the City of Elk River to operate every 2 years. The next license renewal is scheduled for late in 2023, which would be during the next term. What is your recommendation to deal with the increased load seen at the Elk River landfill site and the potential expansion into the sanitary landfill site in Livonia Township? This is a complicated question, so we've got 3 minutes, and if anybody wants me to reread that, I certainly will. It is for you.
So I could speak on this for hours, but given my nature of profession, I do work for Waste Management, full disclosure. I would have to respectfully abstain from that question, just as I would on the council or have on the council for the last 3 years, just to prevent any kind of conflict of interest.
All right, thank you. John?
Yes, I would recommend approval of extending the license. As you said, since the burning plant has closed, there's been much more garbage. All our garbage is now going to the landfill. We have an agreement with Waste Management that the landfill will close on December 31st, 2030, drop dead date. But I have a feeling it's going to be full prior to that, probably in 27 or 28. Now, currently, the city receives $5 per ton for every ton of garbage that goes there. And right now, that amounts to more than $2 million a year. So we're looking at, and that revenue is used to fix all our government buildings. So we have about another 5 to 6 years of that. I've been in contact with some of the supervisors in Livonia Township, and they are currently in negotiations with Waste Management. They have a construction debris landfill in Livonia right now, but they have much more land that could be used. So they have asked, Waste Management has asked them to stop taking construction debris and work out an agreement with them for a landfill. It's a little controversial, obviously, and right now Livonia is in the middle of negotiations with Zimmerman to be annexed by Zimmerman. But I understand Waste Management wants to get going with that process because from what I understand, it takes about 4 years to get a permit. So if we don't do something for our landfill as far as what's going to happen when ours fills up and we're not able to work something out with Livonia, if they do approve that landfill there, our garbage is going to have to be trucked somewhere. And definitely the price is going to go up. So that's something, that's one of my priorities to work on, that we have time now. We need to work on that and figure out what we're going to do. We need to take the worst case scenario and go from there. And the worst case scenario is that the landfill would fill up much faster than we think it's going to fill up. From what I understand, they just got approval for another cell in Elk River, which is the last cell that they can fill up. So once that's full, we're going to be looking to do something. Now, I'm hoping they can work something. Couple of the options listed were, some people have said, well, the city of Elk River should annex that property in Livonia and take over the landfill. I'm not in favor of that. I don't think we should be taking somebody else's property unless they're amenable to doing that, which I don't think at this point they are. Their commissioners are studying this issue. I think that they have to weigh, like Elk River had to weigh, the amount of money they would get for their city, that they could pay for a lot of streets, a lot of parks, a lot of everything with that money they would get from Waste Management. They have to balance that against having a landfill in the community. But we've had a landfill in Elk River for a long time, so I think we've done an excellent job of regulating it, and we need to get on that and start planning for what could happen.
Thank you, John. Corey, your question.
I made some phone calls on this morning because it's a fairly new topic to me. John is right. It brings in about $2 million a year on that. But the revenue in the waste management part of it is that Livonia Township does have a section of land north of there. Elk River does have land to the south. Do you want to go south? I don't think so. So going north would be the right one. And I did hear that Livonia Township is talking to the city of Zimmerman. So I believe it is very important for Elk River to be proactive before something maybe does get done with the city of Zimmerman, that Elk River could possibly work out an agreement with them to continue to use that area. Also, with the permit part of it, it does take a long time. The section that they have north of it right now is for a certain type of waste, and they would have to get a permit to convert that over to be able to accept solid waste, which will take a long time as well. So I just think being proactive on this would be the best way to go, rather than wait and see what happens.
Thank you. Next question. Taxpayer-supported incentives are a very popular method used by municipalities to attract new development. What type of projects should be incented with local tax dollars in the city of Elk River? Let's start with Corey.
I think the projects at tax incentives is a great way to go. I also think that there has to be special grants from the state that would help grow our community, help us with attract businesses to our area, especially with the Highway 169 project. We're going to have an ample opportunity to grow that side of town. That side of town is going to be an industrial park probably along the north side of it, along with some housing, maybe across on the west side of 169 to draw businesses to come in and build small community homes like Capstone came in yesterday with I feel was a great opportunity to put in a project. I feel that communities that have incentives for families to go there with different types of atmospheres, they had like a pond or a lake in the background using walking trails, connecting with the walking trail going north. I believe try to avoid any type going to the Citizens for Taxpayer Dollar use. Again, we have to go to grants or some type of project that would allow us to be able to grow and draw people into our community.
Thank you. John, taxpayer incentives.
All right, currently in the city, we have 3 different types of incentives that I'm aware of: tax increment financing, tax rebate financing, and loans through our Economic Development Authority. I am a firm believer in using tax increment financing very carefully and mainly for industrial uses. Now, the city has just worked out a deal with Cargill to acquire nearly 30 acres on the eastern end of our city that we need to develop into industrial sites. We need to attract some businesses that are going to employ a lot of people, pay a lot of taxes, and those are the type of things that we should use our tax increment financing for. I am not a fan of using tax increment financing for housing projects. We did use tax increment financing for the Saxon property, but I felt that we had to get rid of that blight. One way or the other, that you all know that blight was sitting there for many, many years, and it was a very big black mark on the city of Elk River. So for that one, I relented and said, okay, we need to do something there. And I think there's a project underway there that I think will be fine. But we've had other people recently come to the city and want tax increment financing for apartment buildings, which I am not in favor for. I don't see where tax increment financing for housing really adds anything to the city. It doesn't bring any jobs. It doesn't really affect the tax base. We need to bring more industry to Elk River to help the residential population not have to bear so much of the tax base.
Thank you. Garrett.
So I think Elk River has a lot of incentives naturally. Just the community itself, the sense of community, the park system that we have. I think Elk River in itself is a draw to the community. But as it relates to tax incentives, I do not run to government subsidies for any kind of project. That's not my first thought process. However, I do support and have supported incentives that create job growth within town that bring jobs to Elk River. As the population continues to evolve, we're finding that less and less people want to commute to work. So why not bring those jobs right here in Elk River so you can live and work in the same community? We do have the business microloan program that we have utilized, and I think that's a great tool to use for new businesses, existing businesses to expand on that. In return, getting more jobs within the city of Elk River. I am not a fan of TIF specifically, or especially for housing type developments. I too supported the TIF project at the Saxon property that was sitting vacant for many, many years. Saw the opportunity to take a property that is utilizing police resources, which in turn is tax dollars, and just everything that was going on at that site. Felt that it was necessary given the lack of interest in that property over the last decade or so. We had to step in and do something to create demand or interest for a project there. But I do support the microloan program. I think it's great with the intention of bringing jobs to Elk River.
Thank you. Next question. We hear from businesses throughout the region that they're struggling to find enough employees so they can grow those businesses. How can Elk River adapt its housing policies to help attract the necessary workforce? And we'll start this one with Corey. Excuse me. We'll start this one. I'm sorry, I'm Yeah, Corey, you can start.
You want me to start
Yep.
this one?
Yep.
Okay. I believe to deal with the housing, I think first you bring in the industry. I believe that there's probably enough housing in Elk River right now to deal with what we have. But I think once you start drawing industry into the community, then that's going to draw people to the community, which will draw housing developers to come in and create housing development areas or apartments in the community that can house the industry. I would not put the cart before the horse. Otherwise, I just think that would be not a good choice in my opinion. Again, with the incentives along 169, I think that we are going to draw the industries in the community, in the bigger name brand names to come to Elk River and a place to call home. And then also it's going to bring diversity to the community with different ethnic backgrounds, which would be good for Elk River. And that will be able to also adapt into new programs and grow in other areas as a community as a whole. So I think bringing industry first and then housing would be the best way to go.
Thank you. Garrett?
So on housing, I mean, in the city of Elk River, there is a demand for housing. You go take a look at any neighborhood across the city, house goes up for sale, it's off the market right away. There's clearly a demand for people that want to move out of the city, move away from the rat race, the crime, everything that's going on for something a little bit more quiet, something a little bit more safe for the community. I know as I have door knocked over the summer and into the fall, that's been kind of the #1 response I've gotten from new residents, right? They're seeking communities like Elk River, so we need to be there to welcome that community that's moving this far out. I do think, like I had said in the previous question, people typically they want to work where they live and live where they work and not commute so far. So I don't necessarily think that we need to bring the manufacturing, the light industrial first before the houses. We have the demand right now. I think we need to feed that demand, particularly if you look on the west side of town. We've had a number of new developments pop up. You look at the proposal or the conceptual design that we saw last night with Capstone is you get the 169 done, there's going to be that natural demand even on the north side of town to bring more people into Elk River that can support these jobs and manufacturing and things in this area. It's not just Elk River that's blowing up. It's Otsego, it's Rogers, it's Big Lake, it's this whole entire area. So I think us as a council, we've got some pretty big decisions to make on what that looks like for Elk River. We have always, at least in my opinion, have very, I would say, incrementally grew over the years. I think a lot of smart growth. We have not blown up like some communities have, where they're a small town yesterday and a big city today. I think, and I pride current council, previous councils for taking that initiative to kind of, I missed my 30 seconds. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I think we're doing just fine in the housing area. We have done recent housing studies. In fact, it came to light, we have been discussing apartment buildings because there's been several apartment buildings coming before the council. We have several apartment buildings that have recently been built, several more that are going to be built. So I think we're doing just fine in the apartment area. We also have developers coming to us, as was been stated. We had a presentation from Capstone last night that wants to build a large development in the northern end of the city. There's talk about a developer buying a large piece of property over the eastern end of the city to build 250 some homes in the next 5 years. There's also talk about the spec property on Highway 10, that could be developed within the next few years. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for people in Elk River. I think that we're not growing as fast as a city like Otsego. They have much more vacant land than us. And frankly, I think within the next 2-3 years, Otsego will be a larger city than Elk River. But that's okay. From when I was first on the council, our goal basically was to end up, when we were built out, to be a city of about 35,000 people. We still want to maintain the ability for people to have larger lots in the northern end of the city, like 2.5 acre lots, 1 acre lots, so that everybody doesn't have to have a postage stamp lot. But I think, as Garrett said, I think the council has been very diligent on where these housing projects go. We've tried to follow our zoning patterns that are in existence in our comprehensive plan. And I think that there will be some major development continuing here within the next few years. Miskey Meadows is a development in the east that's doing very well, but there'll be more on the horizon. So we just have to be careful and diligent in how we manage that growth.
Thank you. And John, you just said comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Recently, the city adopted a new comprehensive plan, which part of the 5-year plan do you see as a critical next step for the growth of the city of Elk River? Let's start with John.
Okay. The comprehensive plan is a very key document in the city. It basically lays out the city, the zoning for the entire city, which is industrial, residential, commercial, and there was a lot of citizens involved in the last update to the plan. To me, the next critical area of Elk River is the northern part of the city where the gravel mines are. Within the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of those gravel mines will be completed and will be reclaimed. And the city has laid out a plan for the northern part of the city as far as where industrial should go, where commercial should go. A lot of that development, there will be sewer and water brought to that area. But I believe that a lot of that will be funded by developers, not the city. We will not be putting out millions of dollars to extend the pipes. They go as far as Menards right now, to extend those pipes into the northern area of the city. That will be pushed by development, where developers want to come in and they will help pay for those trunk lines. So that's a very important thing that will be developed. I think that there could end up being another shopping center in the northern end of Elk River. I see a lot of commercial and industrial going into that area, and a large influx of industrial area, and housing in that area also. So I think, to me, of the comprehensive plan as it stands now, that is the most crucial area. That is where the future of Elk River lies, to finish developing our entire city.
Thank you. Garrett, your question.
So I was fortunate enough to be a part of that committee, comprised of representatives from the city, the county, as well as residents within the community. And I too agree that what I look forward to seeing the most and wanting to be a part of, seeing the development of that, is the gravel mining area. I know we've talked about this for a long time, even before I was on council, and we're just finally getting to that time frame where we're kind of getting to the action phases, right? As the mayor had stated, a lot of those areas within the gravel mining district are going to be completed and ready for development. And so, as you can see, with the Highway 169 redefined project, that's only going to accelerate the demand for up in that area. So I would say, the next 5+ years, that's going to be where a lot of the opportunity is, and probably the most intriguing and most integral part of what we do as a council, and guiding that development to ensure that we're following our comp plan and that it's going to be the best use for all of Elk River.
Thank you. Corey, comprehensive plan.
Oddly enough, same area. The ERX track has done wonders for the city of Elk River with what they bring in as far as the community dollars and the people that come here and stay. And I think developing that area out there with industrial, again, bringing in industrial, will also bring in people and housing. And people and housing will bring a strong community. Up there on that side, you could possibly put up a small hotel for the people who come to use the track, have a place to stay. They could also come down, stay here in local town. I think it's wonders for 169 to grow that side of town the way it's been growing. And as we had said before, the council's done due diligence to keep it a small town atmosphere. And us downtown and on the west side aren't able to enjoy the luxuries that we have. But I am really looking forward to that growing as well, with the industrial and the housing and even bigger properties to come available for bigger brand names to come and a place to call home.
Thank you. The Furniture and Things Community Center was a large investment for our community. What ideas do you have to encourage more usage of this facility that would enable revenue to offset the operating costs? Everyone will have 2 minutes to answer this question, and we're going to start with Corey.
I believe the community center right now, I don't want to say it's a disappointment, but I think it needs to be built up. I think there has to be a strategic plan to advertise for that, to get people to use our event center for what it should be used for. I think sports teams should be able to go in there and use it for off-season training or keeping in shape. things like that during the season, utilize that. Weddings, you know, we need to draw that. And I thought there was a committee that was put together, whatever, to push that and to get people to use it. But when I hear of people going to other venues in Elk River to hold their youth soccer meetings, to hold their youth basketball meetings, why aren't they going to the event center and use that? So I think that there has to be a strategic plan moving forward and getting it out there for people to use and know that it's there. And to attract people. I mean, there's probably a lot of people in this community who've never even been in there. No reason to go in there, you know. But if we maybe hold an event there, or, you know, even have a council meeting there, or some type of gathering that would draw people there to see it for the first time, then they'd want to go back.
Thank you. John, same question.
There are certain areas of the community events that are doing very well. 2 ice sheets are doing well, the senior center is doing well, the field house is doing well. We have an issue with marketing. We need to market the facility better. We need to have more banquets, we need to have more meetings, etc. So the city is starting to jump on top of that. We hired a new communications person in the city. Part of her job is going to be to work with the Furniture and Things Community Event Center and the employees there to do a better job of marketing the facility. We started out kind of behind the 8 ball when this project was completed because it was the start of COVID, so we got off to a very slow start. Things have built up, but as Corey said, we need to do a much better job of renting the areas that we can use for banquets, for bringing people in there for meetings, and using the areas that we have. Some areas have been very successful, others have not. We just, our caterer, it didn't work out with our concession caterer person. We've gone our separate ways now and we're regrouping. The council has decided we're going to allow 3 to 5 caterers to use it. People are going to apply to be a caterer in the facility, so there'll be more than one that you can use. And we are going to run the concession stand ourselves, similar to what we did in the old ice arena for now. We're going to run it ourselves. But there's multiple opportunities there. I agree that we have not done a great job in some areas of that, and we definitely need to improve because that is the goal. We've signed some agreements now. We signed a 2-year agreement with youth hockey last night where they're going to purchase increased hours. We signed an agreement, and as Corey was saying, training facilities, youth hockey has signed an agreement to rent space in the field house for a training facility, and I made sure to tell the council that I want that to be available for other sports to rent also.
Thank you. And Garrett.
All right, so the community center, it has been, it's been an interesting ride to say the least. You know, I don't think any of us could have predicted what was going to happen shortly after, or as we were trying to open it with COVID, and then even the aftermath of that, not knowing when we can open, what we can do, what we can't do, and it just really kind of stunted kind of what that facility could be for the community. I think we're getting more and more where that's kind of behind us now, and I know as a council member and as a council, we are working through those changes. I think from a versatility standpoint, we've identified some of those shortcomings and we're addressing those issues head on. As the mayor stated, we are booking that place as far as ice rental goes, the field house. But I do agree with what has been set up here as far as a marketing standpoint. The goal of the council was to have that kind of self-sustain itself, right? The revenues, the profits from that facility to offset the cost, right? A self-sustaining community center that everybody can use. And as what was stated, we've had some successes. There are areas of that facility that are doing really well, but there's areas that are not. And as a council, we've identified those and we're taking those issues head on. And like it was stated is, with the caterer and the food, the concessions are some of the things that need to be improved on. But I think what we can do a better job or continue to do a better job is taking that community input, utilizing our multi-purpose facility commission to give more of those recommendations and to work closer with them on what some of those opportunities are. But we're not going to make that community facility great unless we have community input on how we should run that facility.
Thank you, Garrett. Those are our prepared questions. So here's your first question from the floor. It's generally been conceded that the United States is entering into a recessionary period. Most economists, now essentially all economists and crabby old bankers everywhere, all are in agreement that we're about to see a recession. What does a recession mean for the city of Elk River? And what does it mean for the operation of the council and a reshuffling of priorities? And let's start with Mayor Dietz.
Well, obviously, a recession would affect employment in our area and also probably employment with the city. And for 2023, there was several new positions that were recommended. A plan I gave to the council that the council accepted allows for no new hires. So I would assume if we hit a recession, you would probably not see any new employees within the city. Other than that, we would obviously try to do what we could with our budget. As Garrett has said, we have lowered the tax rate, but to be transparent, lowering our tax rate, it has not lowered your bottom line of your taxes right now, and largely because of the tremendous property value increase that we have all seen in our properties in the last 2 to 3 years. So even though we have tried to, our tax rate is going from 43 to 39 in 2023. So we are trying to manage that. I think that other than that, I don't see the city cutting back departments or eliminating things. I think we would try to maintain the status quo the best we could. Obviously, in a recessionary period, would probably affect what we give our employees for pay increases. It would definitely have effect on that for both the city and the utilities. But I think there's only a certain amount of things we could do during that time.
Thank you. Corey, same question.
Obviously, the budget. The budget, I think, would have to be relooked at. Is there something that maybe was given that maybe could be not taken back, but brought in from somewhere else? Obviously, it would be the job growth would probably not go as planned, as we'd like to see it in the next few years. I personally don't believe that that'll happen. I believe stuff will stabilize. The tax rate has dropped over the last, I believe, few years, which is good, but the property taxes is what has hiked and has set people back. The average cost of living in the last year and a half has gone up per family around $400 to $500. And to go into the recession, it would be the budget that would have to be looked at, or maybe things not added. But with that said, I just think this Elk River, the council has done a great job stabilizing and growing at a steady pace. And that's what I would like to see to continue to happen.
And Garrett.
So the recession has been, or the looming doom and gloom that you hear in the news has been on my mind for quite some time. And I've kind of taken that approach, not forgetting what could be coming down the pike here, but also planning for it. As Mr. Mayor had mentioned, we elected to not add any new positions for 2023 with the economic uncertainty of what's going on. That's step one. And really over the last 3 years, lowering the tax rate by over 6%, that kind of sets the tone for not just the council, but for city staff as to, as we get into the next budget cycle and the budget cycle after that. As a council, we look at that tax rate to kind of see where do we stand, where are we at with all that, and you'll see that over the last 3 years we've lowered that tax rate. Obviously, with values up, net tax capacity is up, but as that valuation start to come down and the market starts to level out, we might, we have to be willing to look at everything, not knowing how bad this recession can get. If it gets that bad, we don't know what we don't know, but we have to be prepared for any scenario that comes up. We've been able to maintain our current city services as we've made some of these reductions in our tax rate, but we have to, again, make sure we have all options on the table so we're prepared for what could happen. Last thing we as a city need to be doing is not preparing for the worst, and then the worst happens, and we're caught wondering what should we do now.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions from the floor? Anyone have a question they'd like to ask? Going once, twice. No questions from the floor. Well, then you're going to get another one from me because we have a little time. So give me a little time and a microphone, and it gets ugly fast. Elk River is a community that has gone through a tremendous amount of change in the last 25, 30 years as we've grown from a small town to a fourth-tier suburban ring community. What are some of the things that you see coming up in the next 4 years that will involve that ever-present tug of war between small-town life and suburban life, between people who've been here for a long time and people who are new arrivals? Let's start with Corey.
Again, it comes down to 169. I believe that there's a big divide between downtown Elk River and the west side of town and the side on the east side going north. I believe bringing in industry is going to bring in more people. That's true. I do not particularly want to see Elk River grow into another Maple Grove or another possible Otsego, as Mayor Dietz had said. I think that the challenge will be common sense. Common sense, placing the right businesses in the right areas and allowing the city to grow as it does, attracting companies that will bring opportunity for people to come here, okay? But we don't have to add all kinds of amenities and things like that right away. And I don't believe in planning out beyond 5 years. You can look at that, but things change so fast in 5 years that if you make a plan for 10 years, that may change in 3. So I believe that Elk River will do their due diligence with common sense and continue to grow at a proper pace.
Thank you. Garrett.
So I think and I didn't really understand it as much when I first moved here, but as I have spent over 10 years here, I see the value in that tug of war, so to speak. I think the old versus the new and the new versus the old kind of natural feel that you get, I think is what's kept Elk River modest, right? I don't think anybody wants Elk River to turn into the next metropolis, big city, all this craziness. But I think that tug of war that you have with, residents that have been here for many decades or second, third generation don't want to see as much of that change, and as well as the new residents that have met with that have really embraced what Elk River is about and the historical side of Elk River. So I personally think just that tug of war is kind of what sets the tone for the council to have incremental growth, and so we don't end up blowing up into a 60,000 resident city. I think councils even before this have kind of felt that same kind of pressure, and I think that's what's going to keep Elk River moving in the right direction, but doing it smart and doing it incrementally.
And John.
I grew up in Elk River when Elk River was a community of about 3,000 people, so I did know most everybody in the community through school and through my dad's grocery store. And obviously that has changed, but I think there's lots of things we can do to try to keep that community. I think that the city is doing a lot of things like our downtown concerts, the tremendous amount of parks that we have that a lot of people use, Hillside Park, Woodlands Park. We have 40-some parks in the city of Elk River. All the community events that we put on, like Elk River Fest that we have now that we sponsor every year to try to draw the community together. The farmers market. Also, we have a tremendous amount of youth sports in Elk River. That youth sports are a great way for people to get to meet each other. I think that there's still room for a lot of community in Elk River. And I think we're doing what we can to foster that. Obviously, things are different when the community is 26,000 versus 3,000. But a lot of these things that I've mentioned, I think, go a long way toward trying to provide that sense of community. And I hope we never lose that at Elk River. I hope we never get that big where we start to lose that. And I don't think we have. I think we're still on a path to do that. I think our goal is to try to provide things that inspire people to get together and, meet your neighbors, etc. The Night to Unite, a good example, where neighborhoods get together, meet with the police force, meet their city officials and stuff, things like that. Anything we can do to bring community together, I hope we continue to do.
Thank you. Last chance for questions from the floor. Go ahead.
In regard to Sherco, is there any impact to Elk River as far as increased costs or, concerns about blackouts or where solar panels are gonna go? I mean, does Elk River work with Becker on that?
Okay? Want me to start?
John, you can start.
Okay, I can answer that. I'm on the Utilities Commission also. We really have nothing to do with that. We don't get our power from Xcel Energy. We get our power from a company called Minnesota Municipal Power Association. So we're totally independent of that. We have no reliance on them for anything. The city of Becker certainly does. I mean, the city of Becker is going to feel the effects of when the power area, when they close. Now, there's been talk about them converting it to gas plants or doing something else. There's been all kinds of talk. I don't know what's going to happen there, but that will not affect our tax base. In fact, where we used to buy our power all the time from Great River Energy. Where we're buying it now is cheaper than what we were buying it from Great River Energy. So we have maintained stable electric rates. Unfortunately, this year, with the way things are going, we've had to raise them. But over the last 3 to 5 years, we've had increases and decreases that basically amounted to a 0% increase. But now we've been forced, with all the additional charges that we're getting charged for power, we've been forced to raise the price. But no, we have no dependence on any of that.
Corey, comments on the power situation?
Sherco, I knew that we were not dependent on that. I knew our rates had stayed the same. I knew our rates were cheaper than they were when through the municipality. That's about all I know on that subject. But now I'm going to definitely do my due diligence and check into that and see what that is all about.
Thank you. Garrett.
I don't really have anything to add other than what Mayor Deeds had said. It's going to have little to no impact on the city of Elk River.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. We have a couple of extra minutes. So, since this is a chamber event, this is a question from me. What are the kinds of businesses that you think we should have in Elk River that we don't currently have? What would you like to see come to Elk River for new business? Corey.
Okay. I'll start with, you can't have a Cabela's. What's the next best one in line? Bring that one up here. You have to develop, I hear all the time, you need a family restaurant. Okay, somewhere decent. There's no better spot to put something like that than where the old bowling alley was. I also think that, again, along 169, it's going to be some industrial, but it'd have to be, I really like what Ramsey has done with their industrial. I don't want it to be that big, but some buildings that are attractive and a place for people to call home, which would draw people to the community.
Thank you. Garrett, what would you like to see come here?
So I would like to see more, or what I would prefer to see more of is jobs that are family supporting type jobs, right? So you got your manufacturing, your light industrial. I know we have some of that, but to expand on that, again, to go back to what I'd said before, to be able to work where you live and live where you work, to continue to provide more jobs here in Elk River that somebody can go work at and support their family. I think that's important. Obviously, I do agree that we could use more restaurants. I think that'd be great. Who doesn't want another option or two to be able to dine with family, friends, and whatever else? But I think the family supporting type jobs is what I would like to see even more of in Elk River.
Thank you. John.
One thing for sure we need more in Elk River is hotels. We have, as far as I know, we have one hotel over by Perkins that if we plan to get maximum use out of our community event center, that's something we need as hotels. We need places for these people to stay when they come for a weekend for a hockey tournament or an athletic event or something. They end up going to Otsego and Rogers because we don't have anything in Elk River. I guess I am dumbfounded as to why we haven't had more people come wanting to build hotels in Elk River. As far as family restaurants go, it's not the city hasn't tried. Our economic development people go to those meetings all the time, meeting with the brokers and stuff that do that. But it's the requirements that they have that makes it difficult for us to get those restaurants. They don't base it on what you do for a supper crowd. They base it on also what you do for a lunch crowd. And obviously that's a lot different with a lot of people working outside of Elk River. But I will say, I think every restaurant that has come to Elk River has done better than they thought they would. Applebee's expanded, Perkins expanded. So I think Elk River has shown that it can support a lot of family restaurants, and I would obviously like to see more of those come to Elk River. But it's a difficult nut to crack to get them to commit to come to Elk River. But we need to keep trying. As has been said, industry, we also need more industry. We always need more industry. And that provides good paying jobs that people can make a living on and they can work in the community. I think Elk River has gotten to the point where you can almost get any food, service, or whatever you need without going outside our borders. 15 years ago, I know we couldn't say that, but I think almost everything you need, you can get within the city of Elk River now. But we need to do more of that.
All right, thank you. We've reached the part where it's time to wrap up. So each of you is going to have a minute for your final closing comments, and we'd like you to address why you are the best candidate for the position, and take an opportunity now to say anything you'd like to say to the audience, anything you might like to address, anything you might like to say about yourself or your views. So we'll start with Garrett, your closing comments.
So closing comments is, there's not one conversation I've had, not necessarily on the campaign trail, but just working with residents throughout the community, that I have not ended a conversation with an invite to a council meeting. There have been many issues over the last 3 years that I've done everything I can to fill these chambers just so we have that involvement, getting people involved to learn what the process is and how to be involved in developing solutions for the community. But really I've always been an advocate for the people. I've always made myself available to the people, and I listen, and that's the biggest thing, is listening. And that's why I feel why I would like another opportunity to serve another 4 years to continue my work doing so.
Thank you, Garrett. Corey, your closing remarks.
I've lived in this community for over 50 years. I love where I live. I love the way it's growing. I want to be part of continuing to see the growth that at the pace that it's on. I have family now, granddaughters that are going to go to school here and grow up here. I have family that works in this community. I have family that has business in this community. And I want to represent Ward 1, November 8th. And I ask for your vote.
Thank you. And John, your closing remarks.
It's been a very humbling experience for me to be the mayor of the city I grew up in. I did a little research has been done on that, and I think you have to go back to the Nickersons in the 1930s to find a mayor of Elk River that actually grew up in Elk River. I think I was told by a friend of mine that he thinks that gives me an advantage because I have perspective, because I knew where we were, I know where we are, and hopefully I can figure out where we're going. I would like to think that my experience in this position stands me in good stead. I have always pledged to answer any resident's call that I get within 24 hours. I think I've made good on that pledge. And every call I get, I try to seek a just resolution for the person that's calling. I haven't always succeeded, but I have made an attempt to try to deal with residents, get back to them as quickly as possible, and I hope to continue to do that.
Thank you, John. Well, on behalf of the Elk River Chamber of Commerce and Debbie, our Executive Director, and Nicole, our current board president, I'd like to thank you all for coming. I think if there's anything we can agree on, it's that Elk River is a pretty fine place to live. And all three of the people here on the stand are part of Elk River being the great place to live. So I'd like to thank you all for being willing to put yourselves through this. I'd like to thank you all for coming. And let's give our candidates a nice warm round of applause and thanks. And we are finished.